Um, so welcome to today. I'm Joetta Heck, registered dietitian and Perfect Health Ayurveda lifestyle educator. And today we are exploring some of the foods that might cool us down during the heat of the summer. And I did have in my description that you could check out the Pitta Dosha quiz. And I just was curious. I know, Crystal, you know your dosha, and Mary, I think you mentioned you went there and figured out what your dosha was too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I redid the quiz recently, and because I think about when you take the dosha quiz and you get the prakriti, is what it's called. That's just how you react to the elements that are in the world, and as an individual, and it goes from like when you were born. So that's what I mean. I'm not sure how I was. Mary could remember me better when I was born than I can. And so the first time I took the quiz, I kind of did it as how I was today, and that's called a vikriti, and that is something you want to measure because that's how we manage to stay in balance. Is we know, oh, I'm feeling a little bit agitated. Why might that be? Yesterday, we came home from the mountains. We drove down I-25 corridor and we're going 75 miles an hour and everybody around us and people are cutting in. And that really aggravates my vata. And so then I have to do some things that help to pacify it. And one of the things that works really well for me, which I'm going to get into, is some warm teas. And we're going to actually make a warm Pitta tea. You don't have to drink it hot because it is hot, but you can let it come to room temperature. But Ayurveda discourages ice cold drinks because it puts out your digestive fire. So that's just something to think about. I do have an intention set for today. So we're going to talk mainly about the Pitta Dosha because that's what the summer is about, and not get into really details about the other doshas, just allude to them a little bit. Do you want to turn your, mute yourself probably? And I'm wondering if I would just wave your hand at me if you want to say something, because this can be a very much of a dialogue, and I'll watch for you. I mean, like wave big and I'll see you. I did set an intention for today, and it's discover cooling herbs and foods to integrate into our meals so we empower our biology to cool itself from within together during this hot summer season. Does that sound like an intention you guys can wrap your heads around? Yeah. Okay. So just a brief review of the doshas. There's the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And those are the Sanskrit names for them. And Vata is composed of the elements air and space. We have to have space to have air, so they go together. Pitta is the middle one I'll talk about. It's the one that we're going to really work on today because it's hot out. Pitta has the fire as the dominant element and water. So you think about the acids in your stomach, they're fiery and they're liquidy to digest your food. And so Pitta is known for its transformation properties. It changes things, the chemical reactions that go on. Vata, I should have mentioned, you probably got a little bit, is about movement. So when things are moving through your body, they're moving because of the Vata force that's within your body. And then Kapha is the substance dosha. It's the one that has earth and water. It's what allows our bodies to be a body. So we want that. And so foods that we eat have some of these same properties in them. And in Ayurveda, one thing that happens is when we have a dosha type that might be dominant, so let's say I'm feeling some pitta come out in me right now. So that's fire and water. And there are certain foods then that have fire and water in them. And those are foods that maybe kind of not have so many of them because I'm already feeling that imbalance, because the elements that are in the food and the elements that are in your body and then the environment that we're in, they are attract, and so they build on each other. And if we have too much of one, it will throw us out of balance. We're constantly trying to keep our bodies in balance. It's not a one and done thing. It is a self-awareness journey. And so, like I say, I know we were in the mountains and I was in the sun. And as soon as I was in the sun that afternoon, my face broke out. I've got several spots, and that's just what happens when I get in the sun. And then I'm sure I had some foods that were Pitta aggravating, to be honest. I'm not thinking so much about my doshas, but I had the combination. The day before we left, it was blazing hot here last Tuesday. And I mean, I thought I was having a heat stroke. I had to actually lay down in the middle of the afternoon because we were loading our camper up. So I had that happen on Tuesday. Then we went into the mountains, and then the following day I got into the sunshine, and now I've got this breakout, and it isn't acne. It is like a Pitta imbalance. So it's starting to dry up. It's starting to be better, which is a good thing. But we're constantly trying to stay in balance is the point. So that's just a little brief overview. Do you have any questions? No? Mary does. Okay.
Okay, you said Pitta was fire and water and Kapha was earth and water?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that water was in both of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Vada's the only one with the air and space. And Pitta is more fire than water, but it does have the water. As I said, the hydrochloric acid in our bodies is where that water definitely comes from. So it's from space that we can have air, and it's from air that we get the fire, and then from fire, it heats things up, and then things come back down, you get your water, and then as the water comes to earth, it creates structure. Now that's very simplified, but it kind of works in that order. They all build from each other. They're all very important. We need each of them. We just want to try to keep them balanced. And the big thing with the balance is when it's balanced, you can fulfill your dreams. When you're balanced with your health and your doshas, your desires can unfold. And that's the real power that I have found for this program, and the importance in paying attention to your body. I'm not perfect at it, but I know more about it now, and things that I didn't understand about myself before, I have a better understanding now. I did want to just briefly do a dosha visualization to kind of get us a little bit grounded and thinking about this whole piece. It's a little bit of a meditation. So you can close your eyes and just listen to the words, and just try to listen to the words and be present, and refrain from judging any of the words, and just kind of see how that feels within your body. So sit comfortably with your eyes closed. Become aware of your body. Notice that although you are sitting still, many things are moving within you. Your mind is constantly moving. Your nervous system is carrying impulses from one part of your body to another. As you are sitting, food is moving through your digestive tract. Nutrients are being absorbed through your colon. Your chest rises and falls as you breathe, bringing oxygen to every cell in your body. Feel the beating of your heart, the pumping of your blood, the flowing of your circulation. An underlying intelligence is guiding every movement in your body-mind. This intelligence is known as Vata. It is like the wind. It carries things from place to place and is never still. Now, turn your attention to the fact that even though you appear to remain the same, your body is changing in every moment. Transformations are occurring at every level of your body-mind. Your body is like a melting pot, converting your last meal into fuel for your organs and tissues. Your body is separating the useful from the non-useful. Your internal thermostat is regulating your body temperature. Though your eyes are closed, they are still digesting the sights and images of your life. Your liver is metabolizing toxins, and deep within your mind, a subtle digestion is also taking place. The impressions and experiences you absorbed yesterday are being transformed into meaning and understanding. The force governing all of digestion, and metabolism is warm, sharp, intense, and penetrating. This force is known as Pitta. As your digestive system metabolizes food into nutrients, and as your circulation carries these nutrients throughout your body, your cells and tissues are continuously rebuilding themselves. In the midst of the changes occurring in every moment, there is a biological energy that protects and stabilizes your entire body. Feel how your bones, ligaments, and muscles support your body. With every inhalation and every exhalation, the lubrication lining your air passages moistens and filters the air you breathe. Your heart, brain, and spinal cord are encased in nourishing fluid that cushions your nervous system and allows it to function. The biological energy that governs the structure, strength, cohesion, and fluidity of the body is known as kapha. For a moment, feel a sense of gratitude for the three doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha, and for everything they do to support your health and happiness. And we'll be still for a minute or so. And with your eyes still closed, you can take an inhale and then exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How's everybody feeling now? Okay, good. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is the seasons and the doshas. The time that it gets really hot, what we call summertime, is when Pitta Dosha, in this area where all of us that are on the call today live, that's what it's known as. And Mary lives in Florida now, so she has more of the Pitta Dosha almost all year round impacting her because she's got the warm climate down there. Crystal and I go through the seasons. The next season that we'll come into will be the Vata season, and that's fall. That's when we have the wind start kicking up, it starts drying out. But we live in a dry environment anyway, so that can be aggravating to Vata by itself. And there are things that we learn in the Perfect Health Lifestyle Program to do to keep that in balance. And so then as we come into late winter and the coolness of not so cold, because Vata is cold and dry, when we start getting more of that snowfall that happens, and for Colorado, it lasts up until April. March and April are our heaviest months for snow. In Florida, that's probably a real rainy time for you guys. So that's the kapha season, because we have coolness, but we have a lot of moisture happening. And so the bottom line is, today we have a Pitta day here. It's hot, it's gonna be 100 degrees, and it's dry. And you know, and so I think the weather forecasted is going to get a little bit cooler in a couple of days. That's not going to be like 40, but that's going to be a little bit of a shift. And as the weather shifts, our bodies have to respond to that. And so we want to be sure that we're nurturing our bodies to be able to do that. So when the rain comes, that adds moisture, and we just kind of pay attention to that. All of the weather does affect our bodies, and we can use foods to help balance our doshas. And that 6 taste sheet is one way to do that. Another way to do that is to eat from the color of the rainbow. When you make your plate, as far as portions go, Ayurveda doesn't talk about portions. If you make half of your plate, here's a plate. If I make half of my plate fruits and vegetables, or vegetables, whatever, and I make a fistful of my plate whole grains, whatever you decide to have, a whole grain. And then ideally those meats, especially animal meats, they're going to be a small little wedge of the plate. They're not going to take up the whole other quarter of it. And this is a little bit of a big plate. I would never take my food all the way out to the edge. Like the rim, the circle is here, and I'd probably just go about an inch above that. And that's a nice sized plate. So when we look at portion sizes, we look at how full is our plate. Ayurveda says, 2 fistfuls of food That's what we need in our stomachs. So kind of keep that in mind. I know when I eat more than 2 fistfuls of food, I feel very heavy. There's not enough room for my juices to digest that food. So that's just a little bit of guidance. We're going to have to consume our dairy separate from our meals, and it's just easier on the digestive tract. So if you drink cow's milk, which I do recommend, warming it up helps me to digest it better. I have a little bit of an intolerance digesting it, and when I warm it up and put some spices in it, it makes it much easier to digest. And so if you have yogurts and things like that, you kind of want to have those a little bit separate. They're very sour, very healthy for us, but they're sour. So sometimes when you mix them with your meal, it can be a little bit more difficult for your body to digest. And Ayurveda is supportive of excellent digestion. So I don't have the practice down perfect. I don't know if I ever will, but I know, like, ooh, I probably should have had that by itself. And so, you know, and sometimes I'll put spices in my yogurt, and that seems to help out. A little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of cardamom is really good. The other rule that Ayurveda has with fruit is to have it by itself too. It's easy to digest. You know, it's a simple thing. Ideally have fruits that are in season. We will be talking a little bit more about that. So if we eat from the color of the rainbow, I'll give you a couple of examples, and you probably know. Red, we've got red, orange, yellow, green, deep blue, purple, and white. And you can put brown in there, you know, with your mushrooms, and your black with your black beans. But so we get a good source of lycopene and capsanthin, which you don't have to know those. Those are just 2 phytonutrients from red foods. And those are going to include like what might be in season soon: red tomatoes and red peppers, the red and pink grapefruit of winter, the watermelon that we'll be talking about today, red grapes, beets, which I have grown in my garden, which is exciting because they're actually doing pretty well this year. Red cabbage, red chard, red apples, strawberries we're going to look at today, cherries, raspberries, and cranberries. So orange and yellow, they have a good source of beta carotene and beta cryptoxanthin and flavonoids. And some of those good sources are squash, which are coming into season now as the summer squashes ripen. Orange and yellow bell peppers, carrots, corn, sweet potatoes, yams, pumpkin, bananas, cantaloupe, mangoes, oranges, tangerines, papaya, nectarines, apricots, peaches, pineapple, and lemons. Green is a good source of lutein, chlorophyll, and indoles. Food sources include kiwis, apples, limes, green grapes, spinach, lettuce, chard, arugula, kale, Swiss collard greens, green cabbage, broccoli, artichokes, asparagus, celery, avocado, zucchini, Brussels sprouts, and green peas. And we're going to have some of these today on our meal, or the little meal we're going to make. And deep blue and purple, these have anthocyanins in them and phenolic acids. Most people don't know these phytonutrients because they're really hard to pronounce. But anyway, so then we're looking at plums and blueberries, blue corn, blue potatoes are fun to get, blue basil even, purple cabbage, black raspberries, purple grapes, and eggplant. And then our white ones, of course, allicin and flavonoids. So you're going to get a lot of that out of the garlic and onions, but also pears, coconuts, cauliflower, parsnips, and rutabaga. So there's a nice variety of things that maybe you don't have every day that you can think about picking up at the grocery store. So I'm going to go ahead and do my detox tea for Pitta. Pitta Detox Tea includes 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds. Can you guys see those? Maybe not so well, but here's the jar. Is that better? So we're going to use the fennel seeds, and testing the camera out is always kind of fun. The coriander seeds, they're a little round ball. And then we also have our cumin seeds. And this is the recipe is, if you want to write it down, it's 1 teaspoon of fennel, 1 teaspoon of coriander, a ½ teaspoon of cumin, and 10 fresh mint leaves. And here's the mint leaves. I picked it out of my garden today. And I'm just going to throw them in the boiling water. You put them all in there together. We're going to squeeze a lemon, which I'll cut my lemon. I like to roll lemons a little bit to get the juices to loosen up. So if you just roll them on your cutting board like this, it loosens them up. So when you actually go to squeeze the lemon, it'll the juice comes out much easier. So I'll try to give a few little food hacks that I know from making food, and that can help you out to make it easier. So now this is a real soft, pliable lemon. So when I cut it in a little bit, it's going to be easy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my stove, and I'm going to put all these seeds in the pan of water I have ready. It's 4 cups of filtered water to the mint leaves, coriander seeds, fennel, and cumin. And then we're going to bring this to a boil. I'll set my timer, and it's going to boil for 5 minutes. And then it's during the steeping period that we'll actually squeeze our lemon in it.
Joetta.
Yeah.
Crystal has something she wants to say.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I have a question.
Okay.
You put in fennel, cumin, and coriander, 1 teaspoon each, right?
A half a teaspoon of cumin.
Oh. Okay. And then mint leaves, you said?
Yeah.
And
mint
lemon?
leaves. Yep, and then I'll cut the lemon and I'll just squeeze some of it in there. It doesn't say that you have to have a certain amount.
Okay. And anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
And then you
Thank
can
you.
use, I don't know if you've ever heard of this sugar. Just turn it on though so I can get the timer set. It takes about 10 minutes to get it to boil, and it boils for 5 minutes. So you bring it to a boil and you let it boil for 5 minutes. But I don't know if you've ever heard of this organic sucanut. Where's my camera? See, my camera is different than where I'm at. Can you guys see that? So it's called, it's sucanat. It's whole cane sugar. It can replace brown and white. It's organic. It's unrefined, so you're getting a whole sugar product. It has calories in it. It's got carbohydrates in it. 2 teaspoons has 30 calories, much like sugar. So it's just a whole food. That's what it is. And I first found out about it when I started this program. If you have trouble with digestion, there's another recipe that you can make, and this is part of it. Can kind of get your taste buds going. So if anybody wants that, you can let me know, and I can send it to you. You can send me an email. But I'll probably use this to sweeten the tea if it needs to be sweetened a little bit. But what makes that tea different, Crystal, than from our other one that we've done? We call it CCF tea, and it helps dispel gas. So Vadas like to drink that. I drink that one a lot. And it's all 1 part a piece. You know, you put the 1 teaspoon or half, it depends how much you're making. It's the mint. The mint leaves are cooling. And so when we have mint in things, it cools our digestive fire. It cools our body down. And so like chocolate mint ice cream, that's very cooling, not only because ice cream's frozen, but it's because some of that mint flavor is also very cooling. So the oils from the mint plant, if you add them to things, can help cool you down when you're feeling fiery hot. Okay, so I've got the timer set on that. I'm going to set these aside. And the next one we're going to go into, the other herbs that are cooling, I do want to mention, is cilantro. Now, some people have a gene where cilantro doesn't really taste good to them, but maybe it has to do with how much is used. I don't know. I haven't tried it for a while, but I did buy this today because I thought, well, it looks really good and clean and green and everything. In the Mexican world, I'm just going to say that, cilantro is used to tame some of those hot peppers that are made for those spicy sauces. So I didn't know that until I took this Ayurveda course. And so I'm not a fan of cilantro. I never explored it, but it cools down those spicy chilies that get into a lot of sauces that are made this time of the year. So I guess we have to just see if there's a dose related to that soapiness, or if it's just that small little bit because our family has that soap taste for cilantro, Crystal. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, I can't remember if you and I ever talked about that. This is what
I like cilantro.
You like cilantro?
Yes.
Well, you're lucky then. So this is mint, it grows in the garden. And then I have dill. And one of the dressing recipes I'm going to make uses a lot of dill, so we had to get quite a bit of dill. And there we go. So the next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about in-season fruits. So let me get my fruit out. Right now, this is not fruit, this is just refrigerated.
I'm sorry, I have another question real quick. Do you have the mint in the pot already? Is it boiling?
Yes, the mint's in there already. It all goes in
Okay.
together.
Okay, but not the lemon juice, right?
Right, you wait till it's steeping. After you take it off the heat and it stops boiling, you put the lemon juice in when it's steep.
Okay, thank you.
I may have to go a little bit longer on my timer, but if I don't set a timer, I'll forget where I'm at. So in Colorado right now, peaches are in season, and I did this ahead of time, so they're a little bit soggy, but our peaches are ripe. We were able to pick some of them up when we were in Gunnison, and some people had them perfectly ripe, ready to eat, and that's the way they come from Palisade. If you ever go there, they have, these are ripe, these are a day or two to ripen, and these are a week. It depends. Are you going to sell them at the front range? Then you're going to want to buy the ones that are a week so that they're not spoiled by the time you get back across the mountain pass. And then I have watermelon balls, which I think you can see. And then I was able to pick some strawberries today because we still have strawberries here in Colorado because it's cool. It's hot during the day, but it gets a little bit cooler at night. So we still have strawberries, and I picked these, and they're pretty nice strawberries for this time of the year with it being so hot. And so I thought that what might be fun is, what would it be like if we were to have a peach and cut it? And if we were to go ahead and put a little bit of basil on a peach. I don't know if you guys have thought about basil. Basil is a little bit spicy. You just don't want to eat a lot of it if you have a real strong pitta imbalance, but it's very tasty. It has a lot of good phytochemicals in it. So the way that I want to show you how to, I wasn't sure how the camera was actually going to be for me today. So I want to show you a few techniques that I have for making food. So can you guys see that okay? You can bring the camera in a little bit closer. I just might be out of the picture.
What do you need to back the board up? There you go.
Yeah, I'm just going to be out of the picture for a minute, and that's okay. We played with this for a while, but anyway, so what we're going to do, I want to show you, take your basil leaves and you stack them up. And if you stack them by size, it's probably a little better. And then you roll them like a cigar. And these are nice big basil leaves. Not all basil leaves are this big. I have some Thai basil out there and it's smaller. And so then it's going to look like this. And then you just take your paring knife and you just, I don't know if you can see that or not, and you cut, might turn my light down. You just cut it and it's rolled up so it makes these nice little ribbons. So now I have these basil ribbons. And you can use basil on lots of things, like people really like to use, can you see those okay? The ribbons okay? Yeah. And so then you can take them, and if you were going to slice your peach and put it in a bowl, you could just take these basil ribbons and lay them across them. You could eat them just as a sliced peach like this, and just eat it as a sliced peach. And but they're very yummy. The basil pairs nicely with the sweetness of the peach. So the second thing that I wanted to suggest is using chocolate mint, if you have any of that in your garden. Let me try to split the difference. Okay, we'll do the same thing. So we pick the leaves off of the stem, and You can go to the, wherever you buy plants and buy chocolate mint, and you do the same thing. You're just going to roll it up and you're going to slice it. You're going to have your chocolate mint ribbons. You can have a strawberry with a little bit of chocolate mint ribbon on it. And if you have this like cut up in a bowl and then it had a little bit of a chance to the oils to infuse with the strawberry, that's going to be ideal. So if you were doing like a bunch of strawberries, I don't have that many, but I'll just taste this and let you know what it's like. Because we know we dip our strawberries in chocolate, and you can get the taste of the chocolate mint without all the calories from the fat in the chocolate. That's very minty, and some people might not like. You might not like the actual plant material to chew it up, and so you could probably take a little bit of that and just wondering about putting it in a smidgen of, you could probably put it in a smidgen of vodka and put strawberries in there for flavoring. Or, like some people use balsamic vinegar, and I don't know that the mint would be really good on that, but I know balsamic vinegar is really good on strawberries too, because I've tried that before. But I don't mind the feeling of the mint in my mouth after I chew it up. So if that bothers you, then that might not be the best option for it. You might want to go ahead and try to distill that flavor out with something. But it wouldn't take much, a tablespoon or a teaspoon of, like vodka typically is what they get flavorings from. And just put a little bit of that in there, and then you can just drizzle a little bit of that flavoring over the strawberries. And it's pretty low calorie, and it enhances the flavor of the strawberries. The last one then is our watermelon. And I made some watermelon balls, and so you can see those. Basically, if you're going to do a watermelon ball, you just do, like, this is a cookie scoop. That's what I use. They make a watermelon baller, but I just use the cookie scoop. And then the same thing again, it's the mint. And if I had this as a fruit salad, I would chop my mint up, and I would go ahead and put it on the watermelon so it has a chance to permeate through. And the big key is making these ribbons pretty small, very thin. And some of mine, I did get a little too wide. So let me show you this one. I'll get closer to the camera and let you see. So these are the ones I just did with a little more thoughtfulness to having them thinner. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, these were the ones I did that I found they're lingering in my mouth still, but I don't mind that because I like the taste of mint. Basil would be the same way. The thinner the ribbon is, the easier it's going to be to chew. And when you have them all together in a fruit bowl, the flavor is going to permeate through. It's going to be really yummy. So there's some fresh fruit. Some fresh fruit that's in season here. One other thing I wanted to encourage you guys to do is to check out this website. And I'll give you the address. It tells you what seasonal produce is available in your area and a little bit about it. And so it's a www.seasonal, SEASONAL, food guide, all one word, .org.
Joetta, is that Guy, G-U-Y, or Guide, G-U-I-D-E?
G-U-I-D-E.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 4 minutes of steeping or boiling. I just now heard it boil. Okay, so we're going to get into eating from the colors of the rainbow. And I just decided today we'll just do a simple salad. Many of you, I know you know how to make salads. Let me pull my camera back. So basically, we're going to start out with some greens. This is just mixed salad greens. The greens are bitter and astringent. That's just the way they are. So that's a good property they have. Bitter and astringent foods balance out both Pitta and Kapha. Okay. So we've got some nice, and these greens are really nice because they've got a lot of color in them. They got some radicchio here, and it's got some red tipped, I don't know all my lettuces, but I think this is a little bit of red tipped romaine. And so there's a nice assortment of color in here, a little bit of kale. There's supposed to be some spinach. I see it right here. So I'll start out just with a little bit of that. I'm going to add to it, just grate some carrot over the top of it. The important thing is that we make our food pleasing to eat. And we also get into an environment that's pleasing to eat. And then we have good digestion. When we have good digestion, that's the most important key. So then we have a little bit of celery. I try to buy, because it's just John and I, when we can, I try to buy organic food. So the celery, I cleaned it a little bit. This is organic. It's one of those foods that I would definitely buy organic. And I'm just going to make little green strips out of it and add them to my salad. Okay, so it's starting to come together. And then we have just a smidgen of radish. So I'll cut it up. I cut the little end off. I don't really like to eat that. You probably could. These were organic too, and they're local. They were from Colorado. I like to look and see what it is that where our food comes from. So I just have little slices of radish. I'm fine with eating them that way on my salad. They give a little bit of white and red to the salad. Okay. I'm gonna have a little bit of cucumber. So I'll cut a smidgen of it off. And it's just a nice, this was an organic one as well. It's from Mexico. We don't have them here yet, I guess. And I know the ones in my garden are not growing cucumbers yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it up into some slices. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and quarter this. So you can stack them up and then quarter them. If you're doing a big bunch of it, I definitely use the chef knife. And put it in my salad. So now I'm starting to get a really colorful looking salad. It's becoming very appetizing because I haven't had lunch yet. And then the final thing I'm going to do is I have a red pepper. I like to peel the skin off of it. I read somewhere where, I don't know if there's scientific data for that, but the skin is harder to digest for me. And so we're in the habit of peeling it off, or sometimes we'll roast them and then the skin comes off anyway. And then you kind of want to make sure you're not eating the seeds. So then I cut mine into little julienne strips, which you can see here. And then I'll just go ahead and not get them too small, but dice them. And when you're using your knife, I got a little crowded on the cutting board. But you keep the tip of your knife down, and then you can kind of roll the knife. And that makes it easy on your wrist. And kind of push the food through. Keep your fingers out of the way. And then you've got some really nice small red peppers to dice over your salad there. And so we don't have to have a ton of all this food in order for us to have the colors of the rainbow. Okay, and then the final thing is I've got some jicama here. It's crunchy. It doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, but it's crunchy. And so if you wanted to do something fun, I saw this for a fruit salad mix. I'm going to take a little bit of an idea with it. So I sliced the jicama, which if you've never had jicama, it looks like this. I'm not quite sure how it grows. Do you know how these grow, Crystal?
I think they grow like potatoes.
Oh, under the ground then? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. I don't know. Well, anyway,
Yeah, I
so
don't either.
you peel it. So I peeled it and then I sliced it into 1/4-inch pieces so that I could make it kind of fun for my salad. And I can add some of these to it. And I just have this little heart-shaped cookie cutter and I made a nice little heart shape. So I can add a couple of those to it. And the jicama is really crunchy. It'll give you that crunch that you might be missing out of a salad at times. So, and there's no spiciness to it, so it's very cooling. It's probably a little bit astringent. I think I looked it up and it's classified as an astringent vegetable. So there we have our salad. And very, very Pitta friendly. So the next one we're going to look at are some salad dressings that are Pitta friendly as well. Let me just put this in the fridge for a minute. What I'm trying to do with our greens is keep them cold. There's been a lot of foodborne outbreaks with leafy greens, and so the bacteria that might be on them will not grow as fast if it's kept in the refrigerator. So if you do salads for a picnic or anything like that, you definitely want to make sure that you try to keep these things cold. I just need to put my cutting board because I have to cut a few other things. So I was going to show you a couple of different salad dressings, and I think they'll go together pretty quickly, so you can jot down the recipes as I'm making them. I run this away as I'm telling you that. I would like to be able to eat it later. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start our salad dressing, and I'm going to do. I have this Ayurveda cookbook, and it's really a nice cookbook. I can send you the name of it if you're interested. But I haven't made a whole lot out of it because it calls for some things that I'm not used to. And as a matter of fact, I learned this today. It's on my salad too. But I haven't been able to find mung beans. Have you found mung beans to cook, Crystal? Well, so I looked online yesterday, and mung beans are really good for this khichdi that's used in Ayurveda a lot to like soften when you need to give your digestive system a break. It's a meal that you make, it's all in one. And mung beans are one of the easier to digest beans. But turns out mung beans also make bean sprouts that I've known about for years. And I didn't know that. And so I'm like, I Safeway had mung beans. I'm like, oh, and so I had to ask the lady, where are the mung beans here? And she goes, oh, they're over there. And then they were the bean sprouts. And bean sprouts are good. This is from Denver. Beans, and they have a best by date on them. Definitely follow that because they can, because they're so small and sprouty, they can carry some bacteria that can make you sick. So you definitely want to keep them cold. So we could add these to our salad too. But I thought, oh, something new I learned today because I'm teaching this class. So thank you, guys. I'll take the Pitta, the one Pitta salad dressing for sure that came out of my Ayurveda book to start with. And it is called a mint and cream dressing. And of course, we know it has mint on it because mint is a cooling herb. So it calls for 1/4 cup of sunflower oil. And this one's going to go in my blender. So I'm just going to pour it into the blender as I make it. Sunflower oil is a cooler oil for the Pitta Dosha as well. So I bought some organic today. I think I spent a fortune on oil, but we were out of oil. Crystal, you don't know this, but when I was in the mountains, we found wild mushrooms. And we cooked them all up because we weren't sure about a bunch of stuff. So we were learning. So we cooked a bunch of them up, and I went through a lot of my oil because we just sauteed them in a pan with oil. So we got that 1/4 cup of an oil. And then we're going to go with 1/4 cup cream. And this is just organic cream. I portioned it out earlier. We'll put it in the blender. And this is a full fat cream. The thing of it is, sometimes we lose flavors when we go with less fat, and some things I did choose a lower fat product on. But if we're only using a small amount of something, I like that flavor. For time's sake, for this, I'm just going to go ahead and use lemon juice. It calls for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'll pour that in there. Lemons, this is a detoxifying juice, lemon juice is. So it's recommended for all the doshas. Even if you have a little bit of heartburn, I think if you just use less, if you take a 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice, fresh is best, but that's convenient. and a cup of warm water. You microwave the water and then sip on that first thing in the morning. And that helps to move your digestion, get everything up and going, and then help to clean you out. And then we're going to go with 1/4 cup fresh mint. I measured the mint out earlier, and this is my mint. And I am going to go ahead and chop it a little bit because it'll get snagged up in my chopper, my food chopper. I don't have like a really fancy Ninja or anything. So I just have it down here bunched up. I'm not going to get my fingers in there. I'm used to chopping this pretty fast. If you're not, then you definitely want to go slower. Just kind of put it in a pile because I'm not going to roll all these up. If you're doing a few small ribbons, that's awesome to go ahead and roll them. But when you're just chopping it up, we'll just do it like this. We're going to put the mint in here too. And then I bought some cashews, and so I just used my emulsion blender. And so it just looks like this. I put the raw cashews in here. I used my blender and blended them up until they turned into butter. I'm not buying cashew butter. I needed just 2 tablespoons of cashew butter for this recipe. Cashews are the nuts that I think Pitta does best with. And then we're going to use thyme leaves. And so I have thyme in my garden, and I happen to have lemon thyme, and we used a bunch of it. I take this little herb garden with me when I go camping, and it worked out great because we used a lot of thyme on our mushrooms when we cooked them. And the thyme has a lot of antioxidants and antibacterial properties. And so with all these mushrooms and being new to collecting wild mushrooms in Colorado, I felt very good about having my thyme when we were preparing them. They tasted great. And then we're going to use some maple syrup, and I like to get the real maple syrup. And so it's 2 teaspoons of maple syrup we'll put in here. And the
Joetta,
oh, go ahead.
what was the time in amount?
The thyme is 1 tablespoon chopped fresh thyme leaves. I can read back through that with you. So anybody watching me put the maple syrup in there? I think I only did 1, right? Did I just do 1? It calls for 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. Otherwise, the hands off, they're sticky from the top. And then we have some paprika. And we're going to go 1 teaspoon of paprika. And I picked up these cool little teaspoons at the cupboard here in Fort Collins. They're really neat because they put together, they're magnetic, which has pros and cons. But so one side is more for, like, let's say liquids, one side is more for dry. So, but I have 2 of them and I don't have to wash it. So that was the advantage I've seen, although it's not going to fit in my paprika. So let me find my smaller one, and I'll just use a 1/4 cup when it's here. So I'll just do 4 teaspoons or 4 of the 1/4 cups to get my 1 teaspoon of paprika. Now this is sweet paprika because we really, Pitta Doshas like the sweet, astringent, and bitter flavors. That's what pacifies Pitta. So sweet paprika. So there we have it. There's our nice mix. And I'll read those ingredients to you again. Oh, I forgot the very first one. No, I didn't. I put the sunflower. The sunflower oil is 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of organic cream, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of chopped fresh mint, 2 tablespoons of raw cashew butter, 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh thyme leaves, 2 teaspoons of maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of paprika. So I'm going to put my thing all together. My emulsion blender has this little food processor with it, so that's a nice thing. And I'm going to have to take it a little bit away from the camera. I don't want to throw all that in. And we'll go ahead and blend it up. That looks pretty good to me. This one have the mint leaves in it. So let me bring it a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it. So it's brown with the mint leaves in it. And this is a Pitta pacifying dressing. And then you refrigerate it because that'll then allow the oil from the mint to go ahead and get into the salad dressing. I'm just going to put it in there like this. I don't think I have to use this. I don't, well, I'm running out of time for sure, but you guys can let me know where you're at with your time too. So anyway, that's the mint cream dressing. Another thing I wanted to share with you, I'm going to put it in the front, is tofu. Tofu is a great plant-based protein to have on a salad in the summertime. And this tofu and soybeans themselves, not so much other things made with soybeans, they are good for pacifying pitta too. So if you need a plant-based protein, you can use the tofu. And so the tofu, I don't know if you can see the stove. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you're not familiar with it. Buy extra firm tofu. I buy organic. I wouldn't, any soybean products that you get, my recommendation is that you buy organic because they use a lot of Roundup on soybeans. So then what you do, it's wet. It's a very wet, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that it's wet in there? They keep it in water. So when you open it, you want to be careful about that. And what I did is just take a knife. Turn our tea off, it's clearly done. Take a knife, I'm gonna cut the paper away. And if I don't use all this tofu, I take it out of this package normally, but I just wanted to show you what it looked like. And I'll put it in another container, but I'll leave some of the water in it because you do want water in it. And you want to use it up within 3 or 4 days. And then you just can cut the tofu. It's very easy to cut a wedge off of it. And then you take the paper towel and you pick that wedge up and you let it soak on the paper towel just a little bit. So we're going to soak it on the paper towel. You could pat some of the water out of it. I just spilled a bunch of water on my cooked tofu. That's just what happens. Curry powder can be spicy. There is a Madras curry powder that I use that's spicier than this, but this is a very mild curry powder, and curry powder is okay for pittas to use if it doesn't have a lot of extra spice in it as far as heat goes. So I know the Old Town Spice Shop's curry powder, it has cayenne in it at the end. It's cayenne and mustard, but so it has coriander, fenugreek, turmeric, cumin, ginger, cayenne, and mustard. And cayenne and mustard are heating spices, but this is really nice and it does help with you with the digestion. So all I do is put a little bit of a spoonful of the curry powder on the tofu. Can you see that okay? And then I put a little bit of oil in the pan, cook the tofu until I think it's crisp on one side. And I go ahead and then coat the other side with a little bit of the curry powder, flip it over a couple of times. And the idea is to get some of the moisture out of it and to crisp it up. And then you can cut it into 1/4-inch pieces. And I'll have to do something with this again because I got it all wet. But super easy to work with. I'll show you with this one. And you can even dice it ahead of time before you cook it, especially if you want those spices all over it. You know, so it's really easy to cut. It's pretty bland. It's going to pick up whatever you cook it in. That's what it's going to pick up. So we can put this on our salad as well. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of our hour. And I do have a few more dressing recipes I could demonstrate for you to make. If you want to stay on, it's not a big deal to me one way or another. But I do want to go ahead and show you that lemon in the tea, definitely before we get off the call. So my lemon, remember, I rolled it on the counter. You can roll it in your hands. It feels good because I have some arthritis in my hands just to roll it like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Let me move this out of the way too. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the lemon in half. And it's going to be very juicy. So I would use this part of the lemon in another salad dressing recipe that calls for lemon. At the other half, I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze it into my tea. And you just squeeze it. You don't have to run it through one of those little lemon squeezers. And because we're going to have to strain all this anyway before we drink it. And then you're done. Now your tea's ready for you to sip on all day long. This is really hot. I mean, it just looks like tea with tea leaves. It's green. It's homemade, fresh. You can put it in the refrigerator and, you know, pull it out, let it be at room temperature. You just definitely don't want it to have it ice cold when you drink it. And that can help pacify the pitta all day long. And the dry seeds are good for digestion. They're good for dispelling gas, and the mint is cooling for our pitta dosha. Okay. All righty. So what questions do you guys have for me?
Go ahead, Crystal.
I know you have tried very hard to give us all the ingredients and the recipes and stuff. I'm wondering if you could post them, because it's hard to write as fast as you read them.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can post the tea. I'll put it on the website, and I'll post the salad is whatever you like for colors of the rainbow, though. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can post the salad dressing for sure. And I had a couple other salad dressings, not necessarily designed for pitta, but just because I really want to go with more like using spices in our cooking, as opposed to, you can go on lots of websites and find recipes on how to make a ton of stuff, but I really want to look at spices. And so I may videotape those and then just put them up line. They're quick and easy. There'll be less than 10-minute little videos that I might just go ahead and do later today. Unless you guys want to stay on. You want to stay on, I'm game for that too, whatever.
Okay. Also, I wanted to share that I looked up jicama. It does grow in the ground, but it's not like a potato that makes lots of potatoes.
Okay.
It's actually a taproot for a legume plant.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
And so I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
I think it's fun to explore food.
When they're digging them up, they look like this.
Okay. And then did they use the top plant for something else, or do you know?
They called it a legume plant. So I'm assuming it either grows something they use, or maybe they use the leaves too. I don't know.
I guess those mung beans that we have a hard time finding.
Yeah, we used to see those all the time, and now they're hard to find. I don't get that.
So when you guys go to I had these objectives I wrote being a nutrition educator for this, and then I realized I have too much stuff for this 1 hour session. And then I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go. So I have to do these because you kind of get that with practice, you get an idea. So I did have 3 other salad dressings, but the one activity I was going to have you guys do, and if you have a few minutes and want to stay on, if you need to go, that's perfectly fine. It's 1:31 on my clock. Was to just quickly go ahead and take a look at the seasonal foods for your region. If you go into that website, if you've got it, it's the seasonalfoodguide.org. And then it asks you where you live. And I looked up Colorado, of course, and I looked up Mary down in Florida, but I didn't know if Mary was North Florida or South Florida. And then just one or two new foods that I'll give you a minute or two to do it if you can hang on. One or two of those foods that are listed in there that you might be willing to look for in your area that you have not tried before.
Well, I looked for things because interesting enough, strawberries are here from February on. And if they use this hidden treasures, whatever different varieties of them, they're not commercially ready, but you can grow them in your garden and they reseed constantly. So it's like interesting. Cucumbers are available here in North Florida every month except for November and December. So it's like a lot of the plants, the problem I have here is one, we don't have a good farmer's market. I don't have space because I don't have sunshine in my yard to grow, but it's like it's just interesting to me that I live in a place that you can grow vegetables year round just about. And it's hard to find fresh, decent vegetables. I just find that very disappointing. And I do love my salads. So, yeah.
Well, you might have to go on an exploring trip. But I looked up in your Florida, this was South Florida because we couldn't decide if Daytona, like it was kind of in the middle.
North.
I found this fruit. Has anybody ever had this before? It's a tropical fruit for sure. It comes from Ecuador and I got it at Safeway.
It's it's at Walmart.
Yeah, and it's very expensive. I will let you know that. This is like $7, but I was curious about it today. And if you want to, I'm going to wash it really fast. If you want to stay on for like another 3 minutes or so, I could put the salad together with the dressing, but you all know how to make a salad dressing. So I don't know if that's important or not. It might be like in the future when I do these to be sure to put it all together. But it was mainly talking about using mint and getting our doshas cooled. But we watched a video on how to cut these. So I can share that with you quickly.
What's it called again, Joetta?
Dragon fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's called Piccaleer. So since I've done all fruits and vegetables on this cutting board, I'm not too concerned right now about the cross-contamination because I'm not serving this to the public. But, just for food safety, we would change and wash out everything if we were actually going to serve this food. So you take your knife and you cut this and you cut it around. So you're going to cut it in half. Oh, and this is a nice ripe one. I wasn't sure because I'd never purchased one before. And they said, I thought it was really cool. This is what the inside looks like. So it's white with seeds in it, and it looks a lot like a kiwi. And mine was very soft. And so what they say you can do is cut this. It could go in our fruit salad. So if we were going to have our strawberries and watermelon, peaches, and some of this together, we'd have a nice fruit salad. We could pick any of those herbs that we'd want to put on them. They probably would all be very good, but mint might be the best. And then let that herb permeate through them. And then we've got a mixed fruit salad to eat, maybe separate from our meal, but and this would add some nice white color and some seeds for fiber. And then they said after you scoop this out, which I can scoop that out. You got this beautiful pink peeling that then can become, it does separate pretty easy. Can you guys see that?
I will tell you that Starbucks does have a drink with the dragon fruit in it and coconut milk and something else. I don't know. I didn't buy it, but I've tasted it before. It was pretty yummy. And I've had an alcoholic beverage with it in it, but I can't remember what it was made.
It's a lot like kiwi. Not as bitter though. So
yeah,
for me, it's really good. But then you can use this, like you could make your fruit salad in this and serve it. And wouldn't that be fun? chill them up and serve them. So that's kind of cool. There's one other little thing I can teach you really fast. This reminded me about it because we didn't get to our avocado dressing. And I could just put it on this video. It's cut similarly. So I've washed this already. If we took the avocado and we cut through the peeling with a sharp knife, and I'll go ahead and make this avocado up for the avocado dressing. And then you can separate it. It just pulls apart. And then you take your chef knife and you whack the seed. And then you turn it and it pulls the seed right out easy. You don't have to scoop it out. And then you actually, if you're going to do slices of avocado, can slice it right into the peeling. And then we could dump it out. I don't want to put it on that because it's dirty, but let me get a bowl. And I'll use this in my avocado dressing in a little bit. Avocados are cooling for Pitta Dosha as well. Dill, avocado. I have trouble digesting avocados. I'm trying not to tear it up because I don't do avocados that much. And I've got my slices there. So if you were going to make a fan, you practice at this and then you can get really good at it. And then you can be fancy like all those chefs. And you've got your little fan of avocado. So we can separate this a little bit here. I could have cut that one more time. They all want to go that way, so we'll just roll them that way. And there you go. So that's quick and easy, and it's not that messy. And I'll whip those up in the avocado dressing, unless you want to stay on. We'll make the avocado dressing. You want to stay on, or you want to go?
I need to go. Excuse me. I need to go. I'm sorry. I'd love to stay on with you.
Nope, that's okay. I may plan too many things, which that's what I'm learning about. So I gave you a few food hacks, a couple recipes. I'll share those recipes in writing with you.
Okay.
I may send them through email as well as post them on the website. And I'll go ahead and videotape the rest of these salad dressing.
Okay.